X8 off the sun, not really going to hit the earth, but we had this on the 20th of January, biblical floods ripping through the planet, earthquakes across the Himalayan mountains. So, where does this take us from here? The amplification phase is literally everywhere. And starting you with some glimpses of the X8 from earlier today. Going to bring you through some different angstroms. Take a look at the CME, but it doesn't look like it really escaped out of there. It looks like it almost got dragged back a little bit, and that's exactly why seeing a lot of density coming off of this, heading toward the Earth. 8.1, and then previously in the day from the same sunspot group, X1, X1.5, X2.8, and then this thing is swinging directly toward us. Now, this is our big chance here. And Stefan Burns putting this one out here, showing us the Carrington sunspot. That's the gray from the Carrington event. Wind us back to the January 20th and 21st event. That's 3664. Current sunspot 4366. It's interesting how 3 6s, well, I wouldn't even say 9s, but these 3 and 6 combos are right on our tail here. Close in look at this one. You can find it on spaceweatherlive.com. When we get this magnetic mixing and just a 50,000-foot view, when reds are separating blues intertwined with yellows, incredible instability, and this is where these flares generally rip off. But again, not a lot of density in this one, so even if it hit us directly on, which is going to be a side-glancing blow, it still wouldn't have the power as something that occurred just 2 weeks ago. So if you're going to be looking for these ripping auroras, they're not coming this time. But we can wait a day or two and see what manifests, because if we go back to, again, January 18th through the 21st, this is the type of solar storm we're talking about, but this doesn't seem to be appearing in our immediate future based on the X8.1. For some reason, it didn't release such a large CME. But what did get released was the clouds during this super freeze event across Cuba, Bahamas, southern Florida, showing us drastic changes in atmospheric flows. And at the same time, we come into these continuous Arctic freezes again and again. We have another one inbound here for the U.S. coming up past the 16th up into the 21st. We're going to get another polar vortex, but it is continuous off-centered polar air for the entire winter. So what would cause such a disturbance? Fans of Earth's magnetic field lines charging. And if there's such vast changes occurring, we could look back in the past a little bit, glimpse into the Dust Bowl. These areas dried out for a prolonged period of time. Well, we're coming into the prolonged period of cold. So again, what is the instability that locked these pressure systems in place to create these mega events that were never ending? Worst hit areas coming down through the grain belt. Don't want to see that again, but we're coming into the rain belt. Piers Corbin putting this one out. 14-day rainfall totals. Something significant is taking to the extremes everything that can be measured at the moment in the atmosphere or on the ground rainfall. Here's Morocco getting nearly a year's worth of rain through the last month, and it's continuous flows of these rivers. People are just astounded how much rainfall and runoff there is. And then with that being said, more tectonic activity, this time up in Pakistan, up near the Hunza region, and these landslides continue. Kind of scary to be up there. There's really nowhere to run if this sort of happen. What kind of damage could the rocks do you think? But just a quick note here. This is where the Hunza people are coming from in Pakistan. You know, the Hunza, they're talking about average lifespan of 100 years, longevity of the Hunza people. Many researchers say it's from the alkaline waters coming down and also the vegetables that they're consuming that are growing in these same highly alkaline soils. There's quite a few different reasons why they might have such long lifespans, Hunza. But again, the damage from the rocks. This is their water piping here, which probably took forever to install anyway, that far deep up in the mountains. But look at the rocks came down and just crushed that like a tin can. Not one, but miles and miles and miles of it, not just a single meter. The entire pipeline system delivering water Two of these towns is completely crushed. On January 5th, 2026, the U.S. Department of Energy announced $2.7 billion in contracts to restore domestic uranium enrichment capabilities. On January 14th, the U.S. administration showed their support again. The White House invoked Section 232 via an executive order, a formal declaration of U.S. resource independence. It's a mandate. Energy security is now synonymous with national security. And the U.S. government is deploying its full physical and regulatory arsenal to secure the nuclear fuel cycle within North America. Here's the reality. The U.S. consumes over 50 million pounds of uranium annually, but produces less than 1 million pounds domestically. That means we're dependent on foreign suppliers for 98% of our uranium, a critical vulnerability for national security, power generation, and advanced defense systems. This is where Atomic Minerals comes in, trading on the TSX venture under ATOM Atom, and in the United States, OTC under ATMMF. The leadership includes members who were behind the discovery and $654 million sale to Rio Tinto, an exit about 59 times larger than Atomic Minerals' current valuation. You do the math. Atomic controls 4 100% owned uranium projects strategically located in the Colorado Plateau. Trading at an 87% discount to the peer group average, the company presents potential upside as the market begins to recognize its strategic asset and proven management team. Uranium prices have surged, and some analysts project they could reach $100 per pound as demand outpaces supply. Atomic Minerals isn't waiting. The company has drill programs underway with exploration results pending and government support accelerating. With a government mandate, an experienced management team, and strategic uranium assets in a Tier 1 jurisdiction, Atomic Minerals is a company I'm watching closely. If you want to learn more about this critical minerals story and the team that already delivered big results, click on that link in the description. And a special thanks to Atomic Minerals for making today's video possible. That's atomicminerals.ca. Which would make life incredibly difficult because bringing that fresh water down valley there and that piping system's, how many umpteen tens of miles long to replace that, get the repair parts up there and the crews to install that. That's going to be years at the way things trickle along and foot drag a lot of these more remote destinations anyway. So think about that. They just, went back probably 40 years in development by not having that continuous water source. Now you're gonna have to go walk and get your water. That was the whole thing, that people were spending so much time getting firewood and water that's all they did. Like, we're just working now to pay for food and increasing insurance prices, and everything's hyperinflating away. And all we do is just run like a hamster trying to get money to pay all these things that are getting higher price. Or they're just gonna be on that same wheel, just go and get firewood, just going to get water. All their modern niceness has just evaporated in a boulder field, crushed. I guess you could say same, but different. Over to Indonesia here, massive floods. And I'll show you some maps where this is occurring. And this is a repeating cycle. It had dried out over the subsequent last couple of thousands of years. People really got down in there, plus our modern infrastructure, and we're able to dam off water and reclaim lands. Well, nature's reclaiming everything again back in these lowlands, estuary areas that had been, well, reformatted for human development. And this is Java Island, north coast, where the floods are. This is Borobudur Center. Visited this place way back in the 90s, mesmerizing, energetic, and the size just really, you can't comprehend it until you're next to it. And also Gunung Padang, the oldest pyramid on the planet, same, Java Island. Like, this place been continuously habited for such a long time. And if you go back to the Ice Age maps where this was fully connected up to mainland Asia, this is all the edge of the continent, for a better term. So we're looking at Java Island, north coast, right around 108 degrees to 109 degrees on the map there, 6 degrees north, 7 degrees. You're going to see that light green. That's where this area is. So all the floodplains are filling back up again. So I found a real nice old map here. And to the north, where you see all those Finger Lakes, that had been reclaimed land where they did dikes, jetties, walls, etc., with waterworks management, and now nature is just spilling over that uncontrollable, and nature is far more powerful than we are. Same thing happening in Mozambique. Again, this is a global event. It's happening everywhere in both hemispheres. This inundating water and seismic activity, it is ramping up. There is nowhere to hide. It is planet wide. Not to be the Dr. Seuss, but you get my point of destructiveness everywhere we look. Now, this area in Chimanimani Mountains on the border with Zimbabwe. Again, I visited this place, and when we went up right where the borders had this barbed wire line along them, there were all these signs up there, don't cross landmines. Well, this is one of the most heavily ridden landmine places on the planet. Now, it took them 22 years to clean the landmines up, and game on, Ruby mining back at not near full speed, but all the mining district is back open. That was what was mined off. But if we're looking for water flows where it says Zimbabwe there to the left and south, Manica, Inhambe, Sofala, all those districts are completely flooded right now. And again, what do you see on the map? The lowlands areas that had been sculpted and reclaimed by modern man, for a better term. Nature's taking it back. So I would put these two maps together, and what are the similarities? You're starting to see a pattern here. Over the last, let's say, 300 years, we have been draining these areas that were estuaries and water filtration and water settling areas for islands, continents, refilling the lands, turning them back into habitable areas. You can build homes and roads and railroads, etc., on top of them. But now the ferocity and the amount of water is coming back. This is a game changer, but it gives you a really good forecast. You can start to see now where the most disruption will be occurring. I'm starting to see the fingerprint of this, and I've covered a lot of floods in the last year, and they all seem to be, and just the light bulb clicked today. Go into the topo map and see where the estuaries previously were and what kind of reclaimed lands these are on. It seems that this is the thing right now. Is this the Hungatonga eruption and all that water vapor coming out of the atmosphere in the very last year or two here? And this is why we're getting such tremendous floods, both hemispheres. But this is a good gauge. If you're living in these low-lying areas, you can expect more and more and more of these disruptive floods, especially in areas that are, well, not as developed. Well, you can even see Japan was inundated with the tsunami, 2011? They had these like 60-foot seawalls up there, and nature just came over with a 120-foot wave, Like everything we've ever built to try to stop nature is being overwhelmed and just swept aside by it. It's almost futile to battle against the planet. That's why people moved in the past when their homes in the deserts, well, grasslands before dried out into desert, they just left. Look at the Middle East, the kingdom, the cradles of civilization. Their gold could not buy them water. It just dried out. They left. How many ruins through antiquity are in areas that we could no longer live in because, well, something flipped? So I want to ask you a question. Is this the cause of everything we're seeing currently? Or is this the cause of everything that we're seeing currently? And another thing of interest is the entire global economy is being reset at the exact same time. Now, you can't tell me all these overlayers here are occurring in just random happenstance because we woke up on Tuesday and said, good idea for all central banks on the planet to start buying gold to reset for a gold-backed currency, as many a government are sloughing off treasury holdings and purchasing gold with that. The economy is being reset in real time right in front of us. So again, I would ask you, what is going on here? We start to see the last grabs of what could be breadbaskets of the planet. Venezuela, that's an equatorial breadbasket that could be brought up to full production along with the minerals and the oil. It has low-hanging fruit, no pun intended, but we're really there for the fruit and for the veg and for the grains that could be produced on a double rotation crop out of there. Just need to kick the rail lines through Colombia, connect into the Mexican network, and boom, we're right up to the US. It's all about getting food. They might, distract you saying it's about oil. What if it's really about the food growing areas? Myanmar's one that could expand production. That is a not stable place any longer on purpose. It's all about destabilizing the breadbaskets until it's time to swoop in and grab them. And I think that it's like when you watch those nature videos from National Geographic. When the hawk comes in and its talons are open just before it grabs a fish out of the water, we're at that point right now. It's just about to close in and whoosh, slow motion, watch it fly off. It does seem to be slow motion-ish because it's a distraction. But anyway, I hope you could see these things coming together: higher solar activity, greater floods, global reset on the economy, all occurring right now. So please, have these discussions with your friends and family. And also at the same time, you might want to get a little more prepared for these events. My Parents Supply and Adapt 2030 72-hour food kit. It's a great start. 3 days, at least you know you have that much food. They also have the 1 week and the 4 week of food kits. That link's in the description box below. Every purchase you make helps keep Adapt 2030 on air, bringing you information just like this. And also, please share, because you have freedom of speech, but you don't have freedom of reach. So the algo's smashing the channel down. Let's try to share it organically out and get this conversation started, because we're all in it together. There's nowhere to run anymore, and it's becoming very evident and visible. Do you think maybe that's why the psyche of almost everybody on the planet's a little bit skewed right now? Or do you think it's something else? Please leave your opinion in the comments below. Love to read them. I'll be able to chat with you a little bit back and forth. Bye for now.